All righty. All right, we're all set over here. As soon as you're ready with the countdown, we'll get started.
Sounds good. And always make sure you're kind of a little bit closer to
Oh.
the microphone. Make sure you're
All
both.
right.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Coming down in 3, 2, and 1. And welcome back. It is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO, of course, again with our new scheduling. Myself, Chad Holmes, and Ian Welsh across the way with you at 22 after the hour and 52 after the hour during the 7 and 8 o'clock hours. And this morning, we are very happy to welcome back to the program as we do each and every month. We focus on the Wausau Sustainability, Energy, and Environment Committee, joined by Jean Abreu and Carol Lukens, both. And Jean, did I get the name right?
Yes,
okay.
you did.
I'm always worried about that because being once a month, I get all these folks that come in and like, it just, my mind is starting to slip away. And I've been talking about my body falling apart with you, and now my mind as well. But no, I appreciate that. And ladies, great to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the thing about, we were just talking as you came in, we finally truly have gotten into spring. The last couple of months when you come in March and April, we've talked about what's going on. It's been a slow start, but now we finally got the temperatures in the 70s and the 80s. And a lot of folks, and I was saying my mom is big on this in terms of planting and spending a lot of time in the backyard and really the horticulture aspect. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Maybe a little preview here of what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. So we are going to talk about, as our plants come up, pollinators and insects also in general. They're both in steady decline, and it's due to a number of things, but there's a lot that we can do. We really need them both. Our birds need them both. And so anyway, we're going to talk about things we can do to help reverse that decline.
And I guess I'm going to ask maybe the obvious question to start. Why is it important if insects are declining?
It's extremely important because, one, pollinators in particular, we need them for our food sources. And about a third of our foods that we eat depend upon pollinators. And there are pollinators, not only insects, but also animals, birds, bats. So we depend on them for that. And then insects also are extremely important for birds, bats, all sorts of animals. So it's extremely important that we become aware of it through education and then find out how we can reverse that. We need them more than they need us.
And something that I think we're going to touch on as well today is, again, chemicals. I think a lot of folks, they go shopping for plants or for seeds. What do people need to know when it comes to, number one, when they're out there looking, and number two, the importance of having some information when it comes to the chemicals that are involved?
So
a lot of pointing around here. We're going to get you on here, Jean, pretty soon here.
So this has been an evolution for me over many years. I used to use different chemicals, and thankfully my daughter is a biologist and a researcher, and I have been learning from her and then many others over time. So anyway, the chemicals that we use to, help maybe save our plants, protect ourselves, anything that we use though that kills insects, kills the pollinators, affects other insects, affects other pollinators, affects then the birds, etc. So that is, I think, one of the most important things to think of. Even those that say, they may be directed only toward one insect. It spreads so to others. So that's one of the big things I think that we can do. One of the most important things we can do.
Something that's, you're going to add, Jean?
And I was just going to add that a lot of times the insects, like let's say aphids, which can be a real problem, and people are like, oh my God, I need to get rid of them. But if you wait just a little while, there are predatory insects that are just looking for that kind of food. And so when we spray for aphids, and I was guilty of that early in my gardening, when I spray for aphids, I'm killing everything, including the predatory insects that will come and take care of the problem. Will not eliminate the problem, but will, take care of the problem. And so I think we have really lost touch with the whole food web of who eats who. And by letting things rest, they will take care of themselves.
One of the aspects that probably be hard is for those of us who may not be experts, and maybe some people that want to get involved, they see this time of year, they hear maybe from family and friends that, hey, it's really fun to be involved in this kind of activity. How do you get the information to know whether or not harmful pesticides are being used, or that the pollinators are being chased away, for lack of a better term? Because you talk about being attractive to the pollinators. Where do you start?
That's a really good question. I think there are a number of organizations that have really good information out there. Some are universities, also Xerces Society, XERCES. They are wonderful. They have a wealth of information. Monarch Joint Venture, you can look them up online. Monarch Watch are a few of the ones, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So there are a number of organizations and resources that provide a lot of information, but you really have to do the searching for it. We, on the sustainability website for the city of Wausau, are also trying to get information listed, and in the city newsletter that another one will be coming out, I don't know, in the next month or so. We have been trying to now add information to those to educate.
What about, if you're just in a nursery or going to a store or something like that? I got to admit that no matter what it is, I'm not a guy that really likes to ask a lot of questions, and that's probably not a good thing. How do the folks that are involved in this feel about the questions? Is it something that we should be doing more of in this, especially in this situation?
Yeah, so local nurseries are a good place to go. I know that just me, for example, I used to buy plants at big box stores, and I try to look to see where I could find the best deal on them. And by the way, planting native is really the best as much as possible. Not that you can't have some other plants, but it's nurseries will excuse me, should be more familiar with which ones are good. One thing you really want to stay away from is any kind of invasive species, because those are also harmful to our insects and our native pollinators. So, but anyway, I used to buy plants at big box stores, and I no longer do that, just because a lot of plants at the big box stores can oftentimes be treated with chemicals called neonicotinoids it helps protect the plants from other insects that may, damage the plants. So one other reason that it's important to go to nurseries, because they usually are, educated and aware of that. They can answer questions, they can give you information. And I'm circling just back around to the neonicotinoids. Sure. When plants are planted with those, that can go into the soil, but also those neonicotinoids will harm any kind of pollinators that use them. So we're, it's we don't want to do that.
There's so many aspects, and we've talked about the pollinators previously. When I hear you talking about it and some of the information you sent as well, it just feels like there's so many different ways that the pollinators are being pushed away.
Yes,
And
that's true.
we've heard a lot about the use of pesticides.
Mhm.
How do we get a balance? Because obviously they're not going away. Would be fair to say?
Yes.
But in terms of the pollinators and trying to again attract instead of going in the other direction, it feels like a very complicated issue, at least from my layman's perspective.
It is and it isn't, because I can't control what you're doing in your yard, but I can control, and move forward in my yard, and if everybody is just doing their part, even if it's just planting a little plot of native species, or just digging up a little of the lawn and putting 3 or 4 plants in, if everybody's doing their part and paying attention to their property, what can I do to help in my little plot of earth? That's the question you can ask. And you're right, it's very overwhelming and it's very scary, but we have to do what we can do, and everybody can do something, even if it's a container pot, on your apartment patio.
And businesses can, have containers, pots of plants outside and things like that. But I also think that we each can help educate others as well. And as far as pesticide use, that is something that, again, has been an evolution for me myself. Years ago, I used to use pesticides or herbicides and things like that. And it's been about education for me, learning. Every year I learn more. And then I try to share that information. But any kind of pesticides, the, CIDE part of, the side part of the word means killing something. And so when we use pesticides, we're not only killing, the mosquitoes we may be using pesticides for. And I know that is a definite concern for people because of West Nile virus and other things like that. So what do we do about that? Well, knowing that, whatever we spray in our yards kills insects as well, and pollinators as well. Hopefully that will give us pause, because the sprays in our yard, one, they only last for a very short period of time. So, and it may kill the insects right there, but mosquitoes come back, right? And so that is not a good practice. And those kinds of sprays, we've been, like you said, we have more and more products, more and more of that, but we need to do the opposite of that. And there are many other things we can do instead of spraying our yard.
Well, let's talk about that, because obviously we get into this time of year. That is, nobody loves smashing their arms all the time with the mosquitoes.
And I was just going to throw in there that Doug Tallamy, who is just an insect expert and biological biologist, he reported that when we spray, 10 to 50% of the mosquito population in that area is killed, along with many other things. But what good is that if the other 50% is busy reproducing? And he had a solution that will cost you about $20 a season. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. And jump in. Okay. So I'm going to start with a couple of really simple things. One is to get rid of any standing water. So mosquitoes lay eggs even in tiny little puddles, clogged gutters, bird baths, toys, flower pots, saucers, puddles, any of that mosquitoes lay eggs in. So empty those or refresh the water at least once a week. And then mosquito dunks, is that what you were referring to? Do you want to speak on that? And
sure, because a mosquito dunk is a little round disc. And so for about $20, $30, you can get a whole season's worth of this material. And it is a little bacterium. And I don't, let's see, BTI, is that the bacteria in there? And it is specifically targeted to the diphtheria insect, which is the mosquito. So you get a black bucket, a little pail, you put some leaves, some straw, whatever, a little water in there. You want to create that yummy, yucky kind of murky water that the mosquitoes will be attracted to. Put it in the sun for a couple days, and the mosquitoes will come and start laying their eggs. You put a mosquito dunk in, and the dunk will it will kill the larva.
Mhm.
So who else dies in this? Nobody. Just
Right.
the mosquitoes, and you're creating this ideal environment, and the mosquitoes will find it, lay their eggs, and that will considerably reduce your mosquito.
And where do you get the
population.
mosquito dunks?
Local hardware store. I
Mhm.
got mine in town here. So,
Yeah.
right. And a lot of people use them in like their ponds. They'll put those in. And again, it's not going to hurt anybody else except the diptera, the mosquito larva. Now, I have a couple bats in my yard, and so I have this mixed, they like eating the mosquitoes, so I have to think about that too. We're eliminating a food supply for another little mammal, but
Another note that part of and you gave me some really good information to look at before coming, to have our discussion. The natural predators when it comes to mosquitoes, and you don't think about that. I think everybody thinks that the first thing, just get the mosquito repellent, put it all over your body, and that's the way to go. But there's a lot of natural predators when it comes to mosquitoes. I found very interesting. Could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So birds, bats, you could get bat houses along with bird houses in your yards. Dragonflies, and dragonflies do need water, some water sources to, when they're very young. But dragonflies and frogs all kill mosquitoes. So adding, places for them, and plants that help attract them, native plants, really helps. You also, um, just one little statistic here is that dragonflies can eat hundreds of mosquitoes a day. With a 97% success rate, they're masters at catching food while in flight, eating their body weight in bugs a day, and also eating other flying pests such as gnats, flies, and black flies. So dragonflies are really good as well. In addition to that, you can use physical barriers, screen patios, set up mosquito netting, wear light colored long sleeves and pants during dawn and dusk when the mosquitoes are most active. You can also try natural repellents and plants, different citronella, different herbs, lavender, basil, mint, marigolds. And then, another thing is even using fans. You could set up fans outside because mosquitoes don't like that moving air. So you can just set fans up outside if you're sitting outside, and that should help keep them away. And I wanted to add, by the way, I checked about the mosquito dunks in our area. I checked at a lot of different big box stores and hardware stores, and they all carry them. So that's really, really, really handy, really nice. In fact, I have to get some of those myself.
And also, I guess before we kind of finish up, and then you can add anything else as well. But there was a note that said, there may be times that you may spray, but make sure that spot spray. Would that be correct?
Right. That should be, the rarity, right? If you must, please focus only on maybe some shady, damp areas where mosquitoes hide. But remember that in some of those areas, again, the dragonflies and other, frogs, they're going to be in those areas. So use targeted eco-friendly sprays like those from essential oils instead of chemical foggers. And again, I just want to say there's really a wealth of information on the web. If you start looking, Google works really well with, or I guess any search engine, with just putting in some words. Where can I find more information on this? And would you want to name Doug Tallamy's website, because that's another excellent resource? Homegrown National Park, right?
Yes, if you Google Doug Tallamy, Tallamy, Homegrown
National
Park, he talks about doing just what you can in your yard, as
Mhm.
little or as much as you want, because if everyone's doing a little something, things will change for our
Yeah.
pollinators. And one thing I wanted to throw in too is that we've grown up with this mindset that, if it's the mosquito, we need to get rid of the mosquito. And we focus on eradicating one species, whether it's a plant, a weed, a dandelion, whatever. And we've not trained ourselves to think about who else will be impacted. And so I would invite folks to start thinking about the bigger picture. Okay, I don't like these aphids, but if I do this, who else am I impacting? It's not just about the aphids, and how else can I solve this problem? So it's about a mind shift, and that's kind of what we're all working on.
Yeah.
And you gave me a number of links to learn more. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to have the entire unedited interview put on my blog. And as part of that, I will put all these links on there as
Thank
well.
Thank you.
So people can click on it, after listening to the entire interview, because we have like 7.5 minute segments here. I'm going to cut them into a little few segments here.
Yeah.
But if you want to, listen to the entire interview uncut, go to my blog, and then as part of the blog, in addition to the audio, we will put all these links where you can learn more about, making sure that you use the natural way instead. Again, I guess the bottom line is, before we do finish the whole discussion, is there are a lot of ways to go natural. I mean, even at the end, we say, well, if needed, well, odds are you won't need to do that, right?
Right.
The bottom line is.
Well, for most of human history, there have been no pesticides. This is really just a small window in time, and look at how much damage humanity has done in this last 50 years of the entire history of the world. Insects were here since the beginning, practically. They're ancient. We're the newest kind of
And real
species.
fast, the effectiveness and all these different ways of going away from the repellents, they're probably even more effective too. Bottom line, I mean, this is not a case where it's going to be less effective either.
No, because in the long run, then the other species are also going to be strengthened, and it's the natural predators, and the more we use the synthetic pesticides, mosquitoes build up, or insects, they build up resistance. So then those don't work after a while. So going back to the natural cycle and doing things we used to do, leaving things more as it used to be when I was a kid. We've lost like 75% of insects in a lot of areas.
Right.
That's scary. Really scary.
And finally, before we do finish up, again, you're part of the Wausau Sustainability, Energy, and the Environment Committee. A lot of great information on that site as well. How do people go and get information from that from the committee?
They could go to the City of Wausau website and then look under even government. I don't know if it's listed as sustainability or SEEC, SEEC committee, but we do have a website now. And so on that website, we are trying to list lots of resources. And again, in the city newspaper too, we've been doing that quarterly. So,
and we'll get that link and put it with the other links as well. And again, go to wxco.fm, go to my blog, and this entire discussion, even more than you hear on the radio. There'll be even more, because we actually went a long time here. So we're going to have it all there. Just go there, be able to listen to it all, find these links, and get more information, because there's a lot that I know a lot of us just don't know. And again, it's not as hard maybe as people may think it would be to do the right thing for ourselves and for the environment as well.
Well, and once you get started, it's a slippery slope.
But it sounds like from both of you.
It's fun.
Yes.
It's really
really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Gives hope.
Again, Gene Abreu and Carol Lukens, Wausau Sustainability, Energy, and the Environment Committee. Thank you very much. And we'll talk to you, hopefully you or somebody from your committee next month as well.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
We'll take a quick time out and more of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow coming up on 98.9 WXCO.
And we're clear.
Oh yeah, that went a lot longer.
Well, in
I
a
know.
sense,
Sorry
it's
about
We
that.
could talk for a week
in a
with you.
but in a sense, it almost works better this